Hi, I'm Rob. Welcome to this episode of the Net Zero Heating Show. In today's episode, we're going to be delving into the topic of heat pump controls. We're going to be chatting to our guest about their installations to learn about system design and setup. We're also going to talk about heat pump controls and how they can positively or negatively affect the efficiency of a system, depending on how they're set up. Today, we are joined by Damon Blakemore from Blakemore Renewables. Damon, before we start, can you just introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your career in the heating industry?
I'm Damon Blakemore and I own Blakemore Renewables. Did an apprenticeship with Rotherham Council for 5 years and then spent another 12 years with them. And then I went self-employed 4.5 years ago. Been doing heat pumps for nearly 2 years now. Mm-hmm. That's kind of me.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to mention
I don't like talking about myself that much, to be honest.
Going to mention the awards you won at the installer show this year. Most sustainable?
Yeah, most sustainable installer.
I don't know what that actually means. But
yeah, me neither.
You're sustainable, apparently. So
and then runner-up, national runner-up. Again, that's twice I've got that now. That seems to be elusive, that one.
How did you get into heat pump installs from being a gas boiler installer in the first place?
Basically, where business has gone in direction, it's gone by accident. I never meant it to just be like that. I've gone from self-employed, then I was doing boilers for 2.5 years, and I ended up working with Craig Brooks.
Craig Brooks, yeah.
When Simon Poskett worked for him, I went down and helped them on a job in Bristol. He actually won an award for that job, but denies that I won him an award.
You won him the award?
Yeah, I got him installed that year for Southwest, and he still denies it. But yeah, for that job, so I went down and fitted a Valent Air firm with them in Bristol, and stopped with Craig for a week. He made me sleep on a chair with his cat. He told me he would get me a bed. I didn't get one. I sat up like this all week, and I had a bad back. I've still got a bad back now, and I got a parking fine on the way home because I went the wrong way on the bridge. I think I ended up working for Note that week.
So it's basically the way everyone gets into heat pump installs, isn't it? Sleeping on couches, parking fines.
Yeah, so I went down and gave him on for a week, and then I had a customer in. He started kicking off at that time, and there was a lot of talk about decarbonisation. So there was still that bit of transition when heat pumps weren't well known, and I never thought heat pumps would work in domestic. I was always like gas. I can't see it. Blah blah blah. And then I fitted one for a customer called Mick Wall in Sheffield. That was first installed through eGeek, and then I did one for a private one for a customer, actually for my MCS audit. I just went from not designing to designing, and overnight I did a 4-story property with a NEEB with solar thermal. I'd never done a heat pump before, I'd never done solar thermal, never done underfloor, so it 4 layers of underfloor, never done open, I just left everything open, got cooling on it as well, and it's all direct. So I just jumped in, did that, and then from there kind of got a little bit of traction online and stuff, and I get quite a lot of work, and then things just started moving, and then people just started, my business I just didn't have that time. One thing I've noticed in renewables is like people wanted a lot of time for you free. So advice is to just start off from the beginning, is to put like boundaries in place for yourself, to not give all that. It's nice helping people, you know, and time to time, or customer giving a bit of advice. But some days I was like 2-3 days a week going out, heat lossing, not charging, talking to people, and at the end of the week you'd not win them jobs, you'd go to someone else.
Using your
and
heat
you'd
loss.
be like, where's, like, you've lost 3 days, you don't know what I mean? So put your processes in place. Like now I'll charge for heat loss. It's my first stage, and then if they go in my quote, I'll refund them that. So I'll do that on Heat Engineer and give it them. So they've got something at least at the end. If they don't go with you, they've got a full heat loss, and I'd stand by my heat losses anyway, so they're happy to go and use them. And then it kind of just steamrolled, and then next minute I had no time for gas. Then I decided to do my MCS, because I'm moaning about MCS a lot, and I don't think you can moan about something unless you're part of it. So then I went through my MCS, and then from that point, just went to where it is, and I was saying earlier, I'm lucky in a position where I can pick and choose it, what I want to do. It's never gonna last like forever. Don't get me wrong, but it's nice to be able to have that bit about and not fight for work as such. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just lucky, you know. Yeah. It has been hard work, but it's been luck as well.
Do you think a lot of your work comes from social media or word of mouth?
Yeah, I think so. I think I do quite a bit on Twitter, basically, and a little bit on LinkedIn. I get quite a few people coming from there. eGeeks being a big thing. I've been lucky that I've been promoted by manufacturers like Wiesmann have done a lot, Mixerj, and people recognise my work and want me to do that job for them, which is, it's nice. You know, it's not like a checker tray thing where you're just pricing against loads of other people, So, what's your background in this industry? Or
So I started with Grant a couple of years ago. My background, and don't hold this against me, I'm an electrician by trade.
All right.
But a lot of the work I used to do for 25 years now has all been on industrial HVAC systems, air handling units and things like that. So a lot of the stuff has been with heating controls anyway, but on an industrial scale. Yeah. I then got into renewables in 2008, doing solar PV, biomass, solar thermal and air source. Been installing it for quite a while, and then got approached by Grant just over 2 years ago. It's quite a new role. I'm a sales support engineer, so there was one of us when I joined the company, a guy called Sean, and now there's three of us. We've got one up in Scotland, one down in Plymouth, and me. I'm based on the East Coast. So our jobs is, without sounding condescending, is to hold installers' hands. So when an installer comes to fit their first air source heat pump, they've been fitting gas or oil boilers for years. They may not know about heat pumps, so they don't know about planning, system design, pipe sizing, things like that. So I'm on the end of the phone, a little bit of pre-sales tech support, a little bit of post-sales tech support. I'll go out and do site visits. But like you, when you installed the smart controller, you had a couple of questions. I'm the guy you can call our office, but a lot of the time people, if they've got my number, they'll give me a call. So
nice.
Get involved in everything really, everything heat pump, system design, breakdowns, sizing, planning.
Enjoying it?
It's a lot of work, but you've got to do something for a living, I guess. It's quite nice because normally I've been a sort of business to customer facing when I was working for myself, which is always nice because you're installing things for people, and if they're happy with it, it's a nice feeling, isn't it? Now it's sort of business to business, so I'm actually rather than helping homeowners, I'm helping installers, sort of passing the knowledge over and stuff like that. So even though I don't get my hands dirty anymore, which I do miss a little bit, it's still a lot of the similar stuff really. So can we talk a little bit about different types of heating systems? So most installers are going to know S-plans from boilers, TRVs, room stats, actuator heads, things like that. So can you just explain to our audience what an S-plan is, and then we'll move on to things like open loop as well?
Yeah, so an S-plan is just a way of controlling zones separately, so heating, hot water, but it'll use two ports, or more than two ports if you've like an S-Plan Plus, if you've got more than two heating circuits, like a traditional Y-plan, which will use a diverter valve, a mid-position valve, so you can have both heating and hot water on at the same time. Traditionally with a heat pump system, you'd get like a W-plan as such, which will be a diverter valve, which will give you a priority of water, so you're able to utilise two flow temperatures. And there's an X-plan. There's a lot of different plans now, which is just mainly used on gas boilers.
So obviously with normal S-plan systems, you'd have TRVs on your radiators, you'd have actuator heads, you'd have lots of zoning and micro zoning. But with heat pumps, a lot of installers now are looking at open loop systems. Yeah. Can you just explain that to our audience?
Basically, when you've got you can just let flow go around. So you'll need a minimum flow from a heat pump for run times, and you'll also need a minimum volume of water for defrosts, which is usually provided by a buffer. You could have an open loop after a buffer. There's no different, but you could go direct from a heat pump and have an open loop circuit. So you'd size your heating to just run with no shut off to the zones or to the emitters, whether that's underflow or radiators. Keep a constant temperature as such. But what you would find is overheating maybe in eye glazing places, if you're cooking, body heat, solar gains. So they can be, even on open circuit, you could still use TRVs as limiters, but you'd just have to be wary of the minimum flow that you need to get around your system, the minimum volume if you're shutting off.
So the more system volume you have, the more efficient the system can be?
Possibly, but at some point having too much system volume, you're eating that amount of water up, so you're going to be using more energy. So it's kind of a lot of people just say put as much volume as you can, but for me I'd rather design it to what it should be, rather than just, if you only need 60 litres, why put 300 extra in it as such. So it's a fine line. It's something that I'm wanting to test, but it's just having time to do it. I really should fit one in my own home and play around.
I guess that open loop probably lends itself to a lot of heat pump installs, but then not every house is going to be suitable for a system without TRVs and actuator heads. Like you said, if you've got a lot of solar gain in a property, you might have room limiters just to stop the room from overheating. Yeah,
100%. The thing with heat pumps is there's not one specific way for every house. You know, like a gas boiler can just go in, you can put it on S plan, Y plan. Your difference in efficiencies are open loop, all TRVs, you know, different control wise, but your different in efficiency is not going to be that much. With heat pumps, the efficiency can swing so much because there's so many little factors that'd affect it. So every system's got to be designed for the house. So whereas direct systems, open loop, might bring the best efficiencies, it's not going to be suitable for every application and every person's needs. You know, you've got to design it to them and that house. So buffers will work in situations, and I have buffered systems.
Yeah, so if you've got a large house, I guess, with half of it not being used, there's no point heating that wing of the house, if you like, if no one's using it.
If you've got you've got a 5-bed house and you're living on your own, why do you want to heat every bedroom up to that? You know, the heat loss between rooms isn't as much as what you'd think. So if you've got doors shut and you're having a room at 16 and your next room's 21, that room's not generally good down to 19, 18 degrees, and that room warm up to 19, 18, you would still notice the heat as you moved and transferred between the rooms. So there's definitely energy saving to be made by doing that. But again, designed in, not just do it out of your just own like free will as such.
Just do it and hope for the best kind of thing.
Have a basis behind everything, you know. That's like, so if you're putting a buffer in, why are you doing that? If you're not, why aren't you doing that? You know, not just not one schematic, one system fits all.
Horses for courses.
Yeah.
What role do controls have in all of these systems as well?
Their biggest part that'll get you efficiency. If you've got bad control strategy and not optimised, then you will end up with a heat pump system that's not running well. Each heat pump, there's only certain components in there. There might be different manufacturers, but they're all built nearly the same, just a few little differences. The big thing is the control. So, and then you look at your control to what the customer's relationship is with that control. How do you want to use it? What they want in for that house, and then you can choose your heat pump to suit and what control you suit. So, for me, why I choose heat pumps is for what control does, and whether that's allowing you remote access as well, so you can bring stuff in, you can check for warm, any faults or whatnot. That's also a big thing.
So just going on from that, the Arona smart controller, you were talking about having remote access. Most heat pump controls are weather compensated as well. Can you just explain to our audience what weather compensation is?
Weather compensation is just a compensation control. Traditionally, what you would have is a fixed flow temperature, so that would come out of the heat source all the time and never vary. Whereas in reality, when you're getting additional heat gains from external sources, you don't need that flow temperature constantly. So as the weather changes, you'll need less heat in the house. As the weather cools down, you'll need more. So there's different types of weather compensation. So you'll have like basic and dumb, what is just like a straight line, or you'll get something that you can actually dial more in with the curve and bring it up and down and alter the slope. And once you've done that, your house will just be a comfort temperature rather than you having heat swings. You'd never really notice your house is warm. You'd just be comfortable all the time, and you wouldn't have to touch a controller.
So it's all about the installer setting the heating curve up to suit the heat emitters and the house, basically.
Yeah. So design again, so your heat loss, sizing correctly, and then commissioning right. If you get them right, you're going to have a good system. no matter what heat pump you've got.
So a heat pump control, if it's set correctly, can increase the efficiency of a system, but if it's set incorrectly, it can have a negative effect on performance as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's probably going to be apart from poor installation. If you've got two installations same that have been installed right, but controllers been set up differently, you'd see a big swing in how that'd perform. Whether you're overshooting floor temperatures, whether you're running it hotter than you need to do. So yeah, control is the major part that get that extra efficiency for you squeezed out.
Is that something that would be set during commissioning, or is it something that once you've gone, you can talk to a homeowner, right, and get them to adjust it lower if they want to make it more efficient?
Yes, so this is where like remote access comes in, and I really like that. You can only set it up so much on commissioning. You know, you might be fitting it in summer, and then you can't really commission it properly because of winter. So it might need a return visit, which I usually generally go back after about 6 months if it's a summer. Go back and just have a visit in winter just to tweak things. But thing with heat pumps is people are interested in the systems as well, so you can have that conversation with your customer. They can ring you and you can knock it up and down, you can change the curve. Generally I start lower than what my design curve is because you can knock it up. You'll generally find if people are already warm enough, they don't want to knock the curve down.
They don't touch
Whereas
it.
if you start off 4 or 5 degrees lower than what you're wanting, a lot of time you don't have to move that up because your heat losses are oversized slightly, air changes, like you say, electrical equipment, solar gain. So you could just knock it up just a little bit at a time and you'll find that sweet spot, and once you've found that, then you won't have to change it again. Although I do think 2 curves would be good, a summer one and a winterish one, because you will find even when it's dialed in a bit, in summer there'll be a bit of a difference between it. You might have to just tweak it slightly again. So you might have to run 2 curves throughout the year, which would be probably the only way to improve weather compensation, I think, would be to have 2 different curves.
Okay. Can you explain sort of room influence weather compensation as well, or load compensation?
Yeah, so load compensation kind of works similar to weather compensation, but internally. So when it sees a bigger gap between your target temperature that you're wanting and what it's actually reading, say you're wanting 24 degrees and it's only reading 18, it'll start ramping up and put a high flow temperature in to hit that set point. Whereas if it's closer, it'll start modulating it down. So it's just like an internal weather compensation. I think, is it a class 7 control? I think maybe. And then I think you get class 8 with weather compensation and load compensation. I know some now are bringing sensors out that you can put in and it'll use load compensation as well. But then you've got to go, there's the influence factors that you can change, and there's a lot more, and it's hard. I think at some point you can overcomplicate stuff. Yeah. I think something like that would be good on if you've got a big house with a lot of glazing, you know, so if you're hitting that, you can use that. But if you're putting that in a glazing room that's solar and then it's bringing floor temperature down and you've got like north and south facing, your house will feel colder on the back than it would. So it's got to be used cleverly and designed in again, rather than just putting in for sake of that. But there is definitely a market there for internal reference as well as external.
Yeah, so if it's getting up to what you've set the room temperature to be, it will ramp down the weather curve a little bit more, just to make it, again, more efficient. Yeah.
So you just work on a factor and it'll take into account, and then some algorithm will way over my head that, but it'll tell it to pull back a bit, and then with that you've got modulating pump in there, you've got your compressor that'll pull back, so you're going to be inputting less energy in as well. So it's definitely a market for something like that.
All in the name of efficiency and saving people some running costs.
Yes, it is. And you can see a few like Open Energy Monitor where people have used them. Generally, the weather compensation ones do get a bit of efficiency rather than using the internal, because at some point, depending on what control it is, it might just start switching on and off. I know a lot of the like Far Eastern ones, they use a 230 switching controller inside and don't have their own controller, so it can be a bit of a pain sometimes.
It's just an on-off signal.
Yeah, just on-off, you're just telling it to, like a light switch. Cycling time, it'll start cycling it and minimum times and whatnot. So simplest form is best controller and heat pump. Like, set it up, don't touch it, let it run. I think we've got into this thing in UK where we need to overcomplicate everything, or we need a bit more technology, we need that, whereas just let it run, just let it go. Say in some situations you would be better with with some form of control, because your energy usage is what we're concerned about. So if you can lower the energy usage with it, then do that. But generally, in every normal domestic, weather compensation and nice control, you're not going to beat that.
Yeah, I think we've just got used to having oversized boilers and oversized radiators, and then having to put in TRVs and actuator heads just to limit the temperature you're getting out to it, because it gets up the temperature really quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If your rooms are overheating, your boiler's too big, and floor temperature's too high, and gas has been too cheap. It's been a accumulation of everything. If gas was the same price as what electric had been, we wouldn't have been running as gas boilers like that. No. You tend to abuse things when they're free.
I think the electric costs are particularly high at the moment. So
27p I think maybe kilowatt hour.
Yeah,
on electric. So it will run up if you've got a bad controller system and you're running it less efficient. Your heat pumps are going to be expensive to run, and I think that's where all the bad name comes from with them. There's been one of mine recently that's achieved 500% over the first 12 months.
Okay.
And coupled with solar, I got the data yesterday because I serviced it. Last year his total energy bill for the house was minus £32. He actually got paid £32, so he didn't have no bill. His gas has gone. He were a bit proactive with his solar because he was buying in at times and exporting at higher times, but still, he was self-sustaining all last year and actually got £32 in his wallet. So you can achieve that if you're really wanting to.
The Arona Smart Controller is an intuitive heat pump system controller that combines sleek aesthetics with sophisticated controller technology. Featuring heating curve configuration, inbuilt settings to support setup and commissioning, as well as remote monitoring functionality, the Arona Smart Controller offers installers and their customers advanced control of their Grant heat pump systems. Learn more by visiting grantuk.com/professional.
Quite recently, you have done an install with one of our new smart controllers.
Yes.
How did you find the install?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Wiring centre were one of the best I've come across. Everything was marked out, everything was easy to do. Installation wise, cable to your internal controller, which were pretty simple if you know beforehand that you've got to run one. Instructions were good, nice looking controller, easy to operate. Commissioning, fine, everything's on there that you need, easy to scroll down.
Obviously a couple of questions you called me up, but that's sort of normal for something you've not installed before.
Yeah, 100%.
It's fairly intuitive, I think, isn't it?
And just a few different things. One thing's named one thing by a manufacturer, other things named another. So
we like to make it easy for you.
Yeah, but once you're used to it, it's like with anything, something new. There's always you always need to get used to that and go. But it's not going to be one that I think that I'd struggle to. 2 or 3, I think I know it like back in my hand and where to go in menus and whatnot. I liked it. It was simple.
Can you just give us a bit of background about the install, about the job?
So it's a customer who's from Chester and he's bought a holiday home in Anglesey. So he's doing it as a Airbnb. Tenants or customers or whatever, all the letters are like, they'll touch things and change it. So remote access is a big thing, which all then really limits what heat pump you're going to use. We went with Grant, but that controller offered everything that we needed. He's got remote access, I've got remote access. We can see what's going on if someone goes in and does that. It's all underfloor heating throughout, 40-degree floor temperature. It's bang on coast, so it's like overlooking the sea, which has got a big now glass bifold put in. So we've got a lot of solar gain as well. So it's good that we can use that controller as a reference point to be able to do that. Bedrooms are limited, so we can shut them down to like 18 degrees, but it's designed at 21 degrees throughout. Just a direct system, 200 litre, also cylinder up there, all in loft. Wiring centre, everything's in loft. Yeah, it was a nice install. It was nice to be able to pick an heat pump up myself without having 2 or 3 people carrying it about.
Nice light one.
Yeah. It looks nice. Customers happy. So I put it on Open Energy Monitor as well, so we can. I can keep track of it and pull a bit more information on, because I didn't know exactly what information I was getting from control at that time with flow rates and whatnot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Is it on there at the moment, is it?
No, it's not up and running yet, because I need to go back with a box, because I need to run a remote CT clamp, a wireless one.
Okay.
So I need to change this. I didn't know how to change this box, so I don't know if I'm going to post it out to him or whether I'm just going to nip back and pop it on. But yeah, that'll be on soon, and I can, quite excited.
Yeah, you've got quite a few on there now, haven't you?
Yes, this will be 5th or 6th, I
Okay.
think. Currently one which is top in UK at, I think, 5.09%,
Okay.
which probably, I think, if it lasts till, touch wood, till September next year, it's going to be the first system in UK to achieve 500% efficiency over 12 months.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'll probably cursed it on now.
We'll have the worst winter ever.
Break down or something.
What was that designed at, like a 35 degree flow
40
temperature?
degree flow.
40, okay.
Yeah, it's the one where he's had the bills at where we got £32 back.
Oh, it's that one,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So a 10 kilowatt Viessmann 150. So yeah, it was a good install. They were like £17,000 post grant, but then there were only £5,000 grant available.
Right, back then.
So we paid like 12. Now it'd just be under 10, which, yeah, I didn't do really anything special on that. It was just math, just working it out and just fitting it, just letting it flow.
Just lent itself to low flow temperatures.
Yeah, that's it. If you change 9 out of 15 radiators, his house is north and south directly. So we didn't hardly change any on the south side, everything on the north side. So we had to have K3s, he had to have a few extra rads. I think out of 9 I changed, I fitted 6 K3 radiators. But I achieved best what I could probably for his house. That's what it's saying, every system's different, every design's different. It's all right comparing your scops and running performance, but if someone else moved into his house, it'd probably run worse than what he's running, because he'd have a different lifestyle to what he's got. So that's it's important to design him at that point of use. Keep in mind the house, that the system's going to be in the house, but you've got to like interact with the customer to know what they're actually wanting for that.
And customer as well, they were quite happy with it?
Yeah, they were.
Like
There's a couple of things that they'd like to see, because it's gone in a holiday let. They'd like to be able to change password, so they can't get in, because it's just in manual, so they can just put it in. So if someone's in there, they could change everything, and then just the settings for the date and time. If they get changed, I don't think you can just save them to put them back in if someone messes around with it.
Right,
He was saying, I think there were 2 things that, but everything else has been, he enjoys it. See, and he's got used to it now, it's easy to navigate. So from a customer's point of view, it's easy to go through as well.
Again, fairly intuitive, isn't
Yeah,
it, with the icons and everything. All
Yeah,
touch screen as well,
Yeah.
so that's nice and easy to use.
Yeah.
So have you used the remote monitoring on it yet?
We've got the customers set up, but not mine. I'm actually going to see today about it. 'Cause I'm not very technically gifted with stuff like that. I struggle. I struggle to turn my Mac on, so but once I'm on app, I'm all right. But yeah,
it's quite handy for installers, I think. If there are any questions from homeowners, and I get this as a sales support engineer, I get installers call me because the homeowners call them asking, "What's this? Is it running right? Have I set it up correctly?" So I can just dial in, have a look at the settings, see if there's anything they just haven't turned on or turned off. It's great for us as a manufacturer. You guys as installers don't necessarily have to have a 2-hour drive to an island off the coast of Scotland or something like that. It's quite a nice little feature, really.
Yeah, it is, and say it comes as the package as well, and you've not got anything extra to add or to purchase. You've just got that. You're on holiday, you can tell them to get in touch with Grant, then you can have a look. Like you say, it's definitely what's needed, and that's one of the reasons why I fitted that, because of controller.
Is there anything you think that would be good to have? Some of the most useful functions of a heat pump controller, or something that you'd like to see in the future?
Controller-wise, when you're on it, not that much. I mean, curve were good. You could alter your level, then you could go and alter your slope on that. The setting up your days and times was simple.
The schedules and things like that.
Yeah, scheduling. So not much off the top, and maybe as I play with a few more, there might be little quick things that I'd like to change. But for first point of view, I'm looking at it were nice. I obviously not seen remote monitoring yet, so I don't know what I can pull off that. But I'm sure there might be a few things, but it's all down to personal preferences. That you know, if what one engineer wants, someone else won't. As long as you've got that basis down that you can do majority of things, there's always going to be something that someone else wants that someone else don't want. So it's hard. It's hard to always get that correct for the right person. But I think from a base, it come up marketing good. It's good at minute, you know, and everything. You always improve stuff, don't you? It's always trying to learn all this stuff, especially with like electronic stuff and adding things or taking things out. Some things might work, and then it updates remotely, I think, doesn't it?
No, it's via an SD card. So,
via SD card.
Yeah, you do it at an annual service or something like that.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, so we did, yeah, so...
So they've got to the point, I guess, where they do everything you want them to do.
I think the curve is the big bit, which is what I like, being able to dial that in correctly. As long as it gets me basics and being able to do what I want it to do, which is not much, you say it up, let it go, customer. If they do have to change it, knock it up and down. You've got temperature up front, you know, you've got ability to use that as a thermostat or just a standalone control. So, which is another good point, because you could remote site that, and then you could just have one of your wireless ones, you know, and do it like that, which is a good thing. You wouldn't have to run, that controller to the main point.
Yeah, to cables if you can't get them to somewhere.
You could site that somewhere where you can access it next to a control unit, and you could just have your wireless control. So, it's versatile. It's not intrusive. It looks neat on wall. It's nice.
For an installer coming into installing heat pumps, or some that might already be installing them, do you have any sort of takeaway piece of advice for them when designing and setting up heat pumps?
Yeah, don't do it.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
You know, I think Kimbo Betty's course is a big one to start with. You know, that'll teach you more or less everything you need to know about sizing pipes and whatnot. I'd say e-geek course as well, if you wanted to take that knowledge a bit further in learning. You've got to enjoy it, and you've got to want to do it. You can't come into this and not enjoy it. Like, I moan a lot about my job, and it stresses me out, but I've probably never enjoyed work as much as what I do at minute. Like, I genuinely love going to work, which is a big thing, you know. If you can't not like doing this and fit them, because it'll just kill you. You know, everything's like longer, like materials are harder to get for certain. Like, if you're doing like 35mm pipe, you're going suddenly from having 15 to 20mm fittings and you're having to carry 35s. You can't just nip down to your shop and pick one up. So there's a lot more that needs to go into it. You've got a lot more time invested into your customer. So I think biggest thing to say is, if you're going to do it, go all in. Don't go half-hard with it. Take risks. You know, I don't think you're going to learn any other way than just doing something. I've cost myself a lot of time and a lot of money by doing things that I had no idea about, but only
best way to learn.
Yeah. Only way I learned. You could read everything you wanted, you could watch as many videos as you wanted, but if you're not actually doing it, for some people you've got to do it. You know, for me, it's spend 2 years studying something and then put me on site to do it, and I won't be able to do it. Whereas if you just give me a week to just mess around, and then when it's to your own detriment as well, you're picking that up and you're learning it.
Learning from mistakes.
Yeah,
and things.
Because you don't want to do that wrong again, because it's costing you time and it's costing you money. So if you put yourself in them situations, I think you'd learn. And then I actually like the pressure with it as well. You know, you're under a lot of pressure to get these. Usually installs are 5 days. Majority of the time I do them on my own. I don't have anyone work for me. I drag a kid in called Brett. He's a builder that helps me. So he's been a big help for lifting units and doing other. So there's more to it than just fitting pipe. You've got bases to build. You know, you've got wall structure if you're hanging brackets on walls, and there's so much more you've got to do. So yeah, I think if you're going to do it, genuinely want to do it, not just because you think there's a lot of money in it or because it's like the thing to do. You've got to want to make that change, and
you've got to want to do it.
It's rewarding. Customers now, before when I were with gas boilers, you go in, you're out, there's no interaction. Like, people are genuinely interested in what you're doing now and what you're going to provide them for their house and wanting to know things. So it's nice to have that bit with your customer, which is what you kind of, on your own, it's nice to have that. You know, I don't mind meeting new people and talking. It's it's good. So yeah, go all in or just don't bother, I'd say.
One or the other.
Yeah. I think that's what you've got to be. I don't think you can do both, because you've got to invest that much time in stuff that you can't just pull away and then just start doing something else.
Yeah, you can't go into it.
Yeah,
half a job, can you?
Yeah, no.
It's the design and the setup, the commissioning, pipe sizing, everything is got to be on the money.
And then keeping that work coming in. You know, you've got to go in ELAS, you've got to do that, you've got to specify it. You've got to do your training, you know, and like see manufacturers and learn about the products. Because you still need, even though just jumping in, you still need to be able to understand how that works as such. So yeah, and find just a good bunch of people that you can talk to. I mean, I've just bugged a lot of people and asked them questions and learn. As far as I've been blocked, but a lot of people have blocked me, to be honest. Yeah, you know, you've genuinely got to learn as well. Like I say, it's you can see why people don't want to make that change.
Yeah, up till now, I don't think they've had to.
Yeah, no.
They can sling a gas boiler at the wall and you know, be gone in a day or two and on to the next one. But you can't do that with heat pumps.
No, although some people have quite a good go if you see some installs that are out there. But it's a good thing that there are bad installs out there, because then it's pushing people to right people. You know, and sometimes you're not going to have all bells and whistles on it. You don't want to spend all that money, but you can still have a good system for less money, even if you are running a bit of an high flow temperature. There's still a lot you can do to make that system efficient.
That brings this episode to a close. So Damo, thank you for joining us today, and good luck with all your future heat pump installs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
If you are interested in learning more about the Arona Smart Controller, the free one-day Arona 290 heat pump installer course may be for you. This training course, which is face-to-face, not only focuses on the Arona 290 air source heat pump range, but it also covers the Arona Smart Controller. To inquire about this course, please visit grantuk.com/professional/training. We hope you have enjoyed this episode from the Net Zero Heating Show. Please subscribe to listen to more episodes and spread the word by sharing the podcast too.